wrestling on television shares a lot of the same functions as any other serialized television program. It has to, first and foremost, entertain the viewers. In this case, not just the people sitting watching at home, but the live crowd in attendance as well. It has to advance the established storylines that have been set in motion. And lastly, it has to entice the viewer to tune in again next week, while simultaneously encouraging them to purchase the major pay-per-view event waiting on the horizon. That's what makes the closing moments of last week's edition of AEW Dynamite so compelling, in that it had so much to juggle and yet somehow went above and beyond expectation. For context, the first week of AEW television ended with Chris Jericho, Santana, Ortiz, Sammy Guevara, and Jake Hager laying a brutal beatdown on the members of the Elite as well as Cody's brother, Dustin Rhodes. On the next episode, Jericho would announce that his brand new faction was called the Inner Circle, and that they'd be on his side to protect him and do his dirty work in the lead-up to Jericho's announced title match versus Cody in November. And so, the main event for that evening saw Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara, with Jake Hager at ringside, taking on the team of Hangman, Adam Page, and Dustin Rhodes. Naturally, Jericho and Guevara claimed the victory after some dastardly interference from Hager on the outside. What happens next is an all-out brawl as the members of the Inner Circle and the Elite make a series of run-ins and saves to close out the show. The staggered, layered nature of all the run-ins means that each act that comes down to get involved in the skirmish gets individually recognized to get the maximum pop and exposure. Staggering the run-ins also means that the pairings that AEW are setting up to become individual feuds down the line are clear as day. Hangman throws a chair right at Hager's face to chase him out of the arena, pairing those two up for further action down the line. Cody, of course, makes the save to square off against Jericho, who he'll be challenging in November. Bonus points, by the way, for making the crowd literally chant for Cody the moment before Cody appears.
Been gut and quartered here, ladies and gentlemen.
That's just tangible proof that the booking is working as intended. Then lastly, the Young Bucks come in to even the odds once Santana and Ortiz join the fray, setting up a tag team match between those two down the line. Page versus Hager, Cody versus Jericho, and the Young Bucks versus Santana and Ortiz. 3 separate matchups, all given hype by one segment. That alone would be impressive enough and act as a lot of material to entice a viewer to tune in next week. But that's not all that this segment did. In the middle of the brawl after Cody gets overwhelmed by the Inner Circle's numbers in the ring, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, or MJF, you know, the guy who did that Dungeons and Dragons tweet, came down to the ring with a steel chair. Now, MJF has been an unabashedly heel character throughout his stay in AEW, insulting everyone that he can, but somehow befriending and sidling up with the biggest babyface in AEW, Cody. This has left many questioning his motivations and anticipating a potential betrayal of Cody down the line. When MJF gets to the ring with his chair, he doesn't immediately make his allegiances known. The Inner Circle have the numbers on him and hold up Cody, almost offering Cody to MJF for a beating. MJF hesitates, long enough that we all have a Bobby Heenan moment and wonder, whose side is he on? And yet MJF goes after the Inner Circle instead. It's a morally good move and it gets a huge pop, but it still leaves us with the question of why. Is this the end? Is MJF truly friends with Cody? Or are there ulterior motives still waiting to be exposed? The only way to know is to keep watching Dynamite. And so, 3 matches set up, and the progression of a character storyline with MJF. But that's not all this segment did. As the dust begins to settle and all the babyfaces stand tall, having fought off the Inner Circle, Jericho, of course, still has to run his mouth. He postures and rants from the entranceway, brandishing the AEW World Championship. It looks like he's finally about to retreat to the locker room when we see someone skateboarding down the ramp. That's Darby Allen, a former skateboarder and now one of the hottest prospects in AEW, known for the insane amount of punishment he can take in the ring. Earlier that night, Darby won a match against Jimmy Havoc to earn a shot at Chris Jericho's AEW World Championship next week on Dynamite. That confirmed match alone could have done a lot to draw viewers in to tune in next week. But instead, we get this. The first time I saw Darby Allen skateboarding down the ramp to attack Chris Jericho, I literally screamed. I had never seen something like that in wrestling, and it made me genuinely excited. Darby looked like an absolute star, a single moment encapsulating his whole character, a man without fear of pain and punishment, reckless, willing to fight tooth and nail with anyone no matter how much bigger or how much more well-known they may be. Needless to say, I'll be tuned in to Dynamite next week. This whole 6-minute segment is some of the best wrestling booking that I've seen in a long time, and it might even be the best wrestling TV segment I've seen all year. AEW Dynamite will be my priority next week, and if they keep this kind of quality booking up, they will be for a long time to come. That's just the brilliance of how AEW closes a show. And if you want an example of how not to close a show,
bad booking, Seth. Bad.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed AEW Dynamite. Did you enjoy NXT much better than Dynamite? Tell me all your thoughts about the Wednesday Night Wars down below. You guys have been absolutely awesome. If you like this video, don't forget to comment down below, leave a like, share it with all your friends. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell. Next week is the next edition of Walking the King's Road. You guys have been absolutely great. Thank you so much and have a good one.